I'm James Gallimore. Welcome to this week's edition of Money Men. As always, I'm joined by Saul Conway and Craig Bell. We've built up a reputation over the last few years of advising and assisting celebrities in film, music, television and sports look after their money wisely. Over the next 15 minutes, we'll be able to entrust some of that knowledge to you so that you can do the same. And in this week's programme, we'll be discussing the tricky subject of retirement planning with Craig, as well as looking at the week's best buys. But before that, let's have a look at the financial news headlines. I know that Craig wants to whip something out from under the table. Craig, tell me, what have you got in the news this week?
Well, unfortunately, it's only newspapers, James.
Well, I've got some too.
Well, I've got a couple of good articles here. The first one in the Telegraph. It's about something that everyone always knows about, that Labour will raise taxes.
They've already raised taxes, though.
I know, well, they're non-stop raising taxes.
Hundreds of times they've raised
They just keep
taxes.
raising the taxes.
Well, exactly.
Oh, but actually, there's one fair thing to Gordon Brown. He did remove capital gains tax down to 18% from 40%.
But he's talking about putting it straight back up again.
Oh, yes, OK.
Well, exactly. There's so many taxes now, no one has a clue what tax rate they're paying, and this will be, you know, through the roof now.
So basically the story is that they'll win the election, then suddenly they'll put taxes back up again to cover...
Well, something's got to plug that hole in the 175 billion
But
debt.
come on, let's be honest. Even if the Tories win, they're not going to cut taxes purely because they can blame the Labour Party for the next 4 years leading up until the next election.
There's a gap in finance. They're going to have to put them up.
Something's going to have to happen, but, you know, is this the right step?
Well, there we go. OK, Saul, now you got some of the trade press there. Did you have some interesting stories this week?
The trade press has actually been quite positive recently, which has been quite good. And there's one small article here regarding a gentleman named Anthony Bolton. Now, he's one of the star fund managers in the city, works for a company called Fidelity. And although he's probably got a vested interest in this, he's actually predicting that the upturn in markets is going to continue until 2010.
Right, now, well, that's interesting because actually that same story I saw was picked up, actually, it was in the Times this week, right, about the FTSE continuing to rise. Now, I'm slightly concerned that we might be right in the middle of a W-shaped recovery. Could this be possible?
It's possible, but, you know, we've had such a good run recently, and if you're looking at long term, then I think it's still going to be a good time to invest.
And good runs lead to sentiment changing, and sentiment's positive at the moment.
Confidence is back in the market, people are buoyant.
Yeah, but I know, Craig, you're pretty tight with your money. You'll be running down there, selling your shares and putting all your investments back into cash
and
before
if I've already
down again.
My shares will go down because of you.
Well, you know, that's the...
So just leading up through to coming not far away from the end of the financial year, if you're going to do your ISA for this year, would you be safe putting it into the stock market, or would you just be safe?
I would go for a diverse stocks and shares ISA.
With a little bit in cash?
Maybe a little bit in cash, depending on your risk. And look at a long-term view on it, next 5 years.
And that's £7,200 leading up until the 5th of April.
That's right, and then it goes up to $10,200 for next year.
That's very generous of Gordon Brown.
Okay,
fair enough.
There you go. He's going to
now, I'm going to interrupt very quickly because I've got a couple of articles here. One very relevant one, which I know we've constantly had issues with, which is remortgage fees within the property market, and this was... This was actually in the Daily Mail, not unsurprisingly.
The fees have been rising for years now, haven't they?
They have been rising, and it's one of those typical things that they know that everyone's on probably a dreadful rate at the moment, and they're saying that, you know, some of these very cheeky...
Well, is that true? Because there's a lot of people on standard variable rates which are very low at the moment.
Oh, you're completely right there. I think I've got one client who's paying £8 a month on their mortgage payment.
But it's going to go up, so be careful.
It will go up, and I mean, our general view is that at the moment you're probably quite safe on a variable rate mortgage, quite a low one, I'd guess.
But trying to look at a long-term view again, try and fix in for a long period. Interest rates are so low at the moment. If you can do that, you'll...
And there are some half-decent long-term fixed rates around at the moment. That obviously we'll cover a little bit later on in the programme.
Talking of those people that are on standard variable rate, for those people that took a self-certification mortgage, that's a mortgage whereby you self-certified your income and didn't prove it some years ago. Unfortunately, Platform, who were the last lender that provided this in the market, have been removed themselves from it.
Well, isn't that a good thing, though? Because you don't get these cheat mortgages now.
Yeah,
People
liar
lie.
mortgages might have disappeared,
Yeah.
but for the people that used it wisely and fairly, they were a good product.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay.
Well, I've got one last article, which is quite relevant for our clients.
Was that in the Independent?
It's in the Independent, unfortunately, yes. But it's about the new change of chairman in ITV.
Right, okay.
ITV had a horrible time recently. Their share price has gone down, advertising revenues have plummeted, but still they had 17 million people watching X Factor.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that the only show people watch on ITV, though?
May well be. Now, at the end of the day, obviously that can only be good for ITV, and also
Yeah.
as we
Something
saw
had to
recently in the press, obviously the product placement's going to help with the advertising.
Yeah.
So we might all well be wearing Coca-Cola T-shirts next programme. But before we go on to anything else, there's one other thing I spotted which is in the Independent, again, basically talking about ethical funds. Now, I'm a bit dubious about this. Now, I know, Craig, you came to me in the office last week and you said to me that you were quite surprised with some of the returns on the ethical funds recently, but I'm sorry, am I really going to put my life savings into some bean factory in South America?
Well, historically, ethical funds haven't performed well compared with the
But
rest of the
now's
market.
got to be the time if you fancy that sort of investment. Green is the word of today. People want to go green and people are worried about the economy.
Okay, well, fair enough. My view is perhaps that it might well be for long-term savings rather than perhaps quick gains. Now, talking about long-term savings, I know that Craig is going to discuss with us about retirement planning and the tricky subject of how to save your funds up for the day when you want to give up work.
So today I'm going to talk about not everyone's favourite subject, but a very important one, and that's retirement. Do you know how much you'll receive in retirement? £95.25 per week. That equates to £5,000 per year, and that's only if you work for 30 years to gain that. This can be a problem because everyone wants to continue the lifestyle they become accustomed to. So the question is, how do you top that up and receive more money in retirement? There are many different ways of saving for your future. These include property, pensions, ISAs, or even artwork. I'm going to single out the most misunderstood one of these, and that's pensions. Many people don't realise you can invest into almost anything within a pension, the safest being cash. Pensions also come with great tax breaks. If you're a high-rate taxpayer and you're paying £60, it'll be worth £100 immediately. This is one reason why they're ideal for retirement. There'll be many more facts in episodes to come, so please keep watching The Money Men.